So one thing that I've already done is I went in to Google Fonts. I picked a font called Patrick Hand because it looks like handwriting, and I installed it on my computer. And then what I did is I went into Annotate. If you have the 3D ribbon on, you can go to Annotate. I went into Text. I used the drop-down menu, and I managed text styles. And then what I did is I created a new one. I went New. I used Patrick Hand, the regular font. I did say annotate it. And on paper, I want it to be 1/8 of an inch tall. And then I hit apply. So you can call it whatever font you or your text style that you want. And when we do the full template and all that, we'll make our dimensions and our leaders will set up the same way. So for now, let's just go back to home. And what we're going to do is we're going to create the circle for our callouts. And because we are going to make this annotative, we want to draw it in 1:1, and we want to draw it the size that we want it on paper space. So we want the diameter, overall diameter, to be 3/8 of an inch. And because we've used the circle command, so I'll do that again, you can either use the drop down here or hit C spacebar. I picked a center point, doesn't matter where. I pulled it to the right. My ortho is on, so I'm only going to be able to go in 90-degree increments. And I'm going to go 3/16 because that's half of 3/8. So we have our circle. I'm going to draw a line. So L spacebar. I'm going to go in the center. And again, my ortho is on, so it's going to snap to the edge here. If you don't have your object snaps on, you could just draw it past, which would be fine. So we'll turn the snaps on when we do our template. So for now, I'm just going to use the extend, extend. I'm going to cross over that line, and then I'm going to hold shift down and go the outside of the circle, and I'm just going to pull down, and then it becomes trim. So now we have our callout circle with our line through it. We want to have the callout on the top, and we're going to have the page on the bottom. But we also want this callout to have an arrow that spins around the direction we want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line. So L spacebar, center of the circle out, and I'm going to go 0.275. So that's how long I want how far out I want that arrow to be. Then what I'm going to do is rotate. So I'm going to hit RO spacebar, select this line, and that's only this half line, spacebar, and I'm going to select the end of, because that's where I want it to rotate. If I have my ortho on, it only goes 90 degrees, F8, and then it will rotate any direction. But I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees, so 45, enter, and it gives me the rotation that I want. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another line, so L spacebar, center of the circle. I'm going to turn F8 back on. I'm going to come up, and I'm going to go past the edge of the circle. Doesn't matter how far, because then I'm going to use the fillet command. So if I hit F for fillet, enter. Now, fillet usually is a radius. I can see here in the command line my radius is set to 0, but if I would have done something before, there would be a radius already in there. I'm going to use the shift while I select my two items, and that will automatically set it to 0 if there was another value in there. And then I'm going to select that, so it gives me my nice sharp corner of the arrow. And then what I want to do is I want to create a space between the arrow and the circle. So I'm going to use the offset command, so O, offset spacebar. I'm going to go 0.005. I think that should be enough to keep us inside here. Spacebar, I'm going to grab the circle and I'm going to push up, and it does keep me inside. And then I'm going to left click to finish that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim, so TR, trim, this line between this callout circle and our arrow circle. Then I'm going to left click, window across this line that I made, and I'm going to erase that line. I'm going to use the mirror command, spacebar. I'm going to select the two parts of my arrow, spacebar. I'm going to grab the center midpoint, and I'm just pulling to the right because my ortho is on, F8, and so it's just going to rotate the 180 degrees, and then I'm going to hit left click, and no, I do not want to erase it by default. You can just hit enter if it says no, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the trim command, TR spacebar. I'm going to grab the outside circle, delete it off. So this is my arrow that goes around. Okay, now that we trimmed it, what we should do is, as you can see, these are all individual components. What we want to do is we want to use the J for join command, spacebar, and then what we're going to do is we're going to select all the lines that we want to join together, spacebar again, and now when you select it with the left click, it's all together. And then what we want to do is we want to hatch it, so H, spacebar, we're going to pick the center point, enter, and now it's hatched. Now, one thing that we want to do is, this is bright white is probably not super good on our eyes when we're going to be looking at a lot of white stuff for text and that. So what we should do is we should create a layer for call out arrows, or we could have call out components or something like that, so that we could then just move these in properties to the layer. But right now I'm just going to change, I've selected the hatch, I've selected the line around it, and then I'm just going to change the color of it. So I'm going to use this drop down menu, and I'm just going to change it to green. Now, that's not a great green to look at, but you can modify the colors any way you want. But again, this should be moved to the layer so that later on, if you want to change or update your color scheme, it's done by layers, but we're just making this call out for now. So that what we want to do is we want to be able to put in attributes here so that we can modify them when this is a block. So what we want to do is we want to hit ATT, and it comes up there, attribute definition, spacebar, brings up this dialog box. So right now I'm just going to put the cap locks on. Top one is going to be callout. The prompt is going to be view. The default, I'm going to use E1. I'm going to change justification to middle center, and I'm using the text style that I created. You could just use standard. Yeah, it's totally up to you. Lock the position, and we have annotative, and the height is just going to be 1/8 of an inch because that's what we want our text to print out in paperspace. Now we could make them bigger, or we could change them to bold, but for now we're just going to use the standard and see how they look. Then I'm going to hit OK, and we get call out, and I'm just going to hit left click, put it anywhere on the screen. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just select it. Now here's the grip for it. I'm going to put the grip to center of the circle. Then I'm going to type in M for move, spacebar. I'm going to pick a point over here in space so that I don't get stuck on anything. And I do have ortho on, and I'm going to go up 30 seconds, because that should be, if I wanted to, I could put a construction line in here by just making a line coming down to the edge of this circle. We know this line is 3/16, so I could just do 3/16. So you see that when you I draw another line, I get a triangle here. If you're not getting a triangle, it's this button down here on the bottom right, your object snaps. F3 turns it off and on. Left click will go into the settings, and then you just want to make sure that you have midpoint on. I have nodes on, extension, tangent should be on as well, but the more you turn on, the more times your cursor is trying to find one of those, and that's why when I move things I just use a point in space. So then let's do the attribute again, definition, att, and then enter, and then this is going to be page number. So in the tag I can type page underscore number. The prompt will be page, and the default will be 01 for me. Again, justification, I'm going to turn to middle center. Annotative is on because I do want this block to be annotative. And then, yeah, the text is 2024. I'm going to hit OK. It's going to put it anywhere in space here. I'm just going to click anywhere. I'm going to select it. I'm going to grab the node from the center of it, and then I'm going to put it on the center of this line that I made. And then I'm going to erase that line. So again, I could have put it in the center of the circle and moved it down 3/32. So now we have this callout with these very large words on it, but that's not how we're gonna, hopefully it's not gonna look that way when we put it into our drawing. So what we want to do now is we want to create a block. So we're going to type WB, and then this right block comes up, spacebar, and then we get this right block dialog. First thing we want to do is call it what we want to call it. And this is what you can insert it as. So you can, my caps lock is on. I'm just going to do call out underscore 2024. Then I'm going to pick a point. I'm going to pick the center of it. So when I insert it, that's where the insert point is. And then I'm going to select the objects, and I'm going to convert it to a block right away. So select the objects from bottom right to top left. So I get a selection window, not a window selection. So I can get everything in there. And then I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to hit OK. So the insert unit is inches because that's the way we set up our drawing. I'm going to hit OK. And now we're getting the page and the view. Now page for some reason is on top because probably I selected it before view. Then we'll hit OK. It's the right way in the block. We can go into the attribute editor. It's called Batman, B-A-T. You'll see the Batman comes up. And then we can see that we have the page is above the callout. So I'm just going to move down. So callout is first, page number is second. I'm going to hit apply. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this. So the next time we insert that, we're going to get that prompt, and then it'll be in the right order. Left click it. Okay. So what we'll do now is we will left click it, right click, block editor. We're going to go into the block. Edit. So then what we want to do is we want to put in a rotation. So in the parameters, we want to put a rotation in. And this is going to ask us where the base point is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the right side, and I'm just going to extend it out to about just past the circle. I'm going to left click. Oh, no, I'm not. What a dumbass. I'm going to leave that in too. No, I shouldn't. Okay, so we go into parameters, and we're going to do a rotation. We're going to select the center of our circle for the rotation, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go out to our circle on our arrow, and then I'm going to left click. And then the angle, I'm just going to type in 360 degrees. So there we go. We have our parameter of the rotation. Then next I'm going to go into action. I'm going to hit rotate, and then I'm going to select the parameter of these dots that go around. That's the object, or the parameter, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the arrow, and then I'm going to hit enter. So now we've basically, what we've said is that I'm going to use this node to control the arrow. And then if we close the block editor, we want to save the changes. So we have this. Okay, just before we close the block editor, just make sure in the properties that annotative is set to yes. And then we'll save it. So then when you select the block, you will see this node. And I don't have ortho on, so it's just moving at 1 degree as I move the mouse up and down. If I turn ortho on, it will only move in 90-degree increments. And then when you left click, it will then set the arrow to that. So that way, if we are using this, we create a copy of it, and we move it over, and we change the scale that we look at it through our viewport, and the scale goes to 2:1. We can then make sure that we add the scale, add to 1:2, sorry. Okay, okay. And then everything stays the way it should be, spacing and everything, and then also we can move it. Right now it's showing us both scales because I just added, I didn't take the other scale off of it. So if you just left click on here, it shows that there's both scales on this item. I can delete the 1:1, okay, and it removes that. So we can then insert it into a drawing, under a drawing that we know is at a different scale, and in paper space it will look perfect. Okay, any questions or anything you'd want me to draw or add to this block, just put in the comments below. And this is part of a series where we're making basically a title block template that's going to have all of our callouts, our dimension styles that we want, basically everything in a drawing that we want when we start a drawing, including our layers and that. So you can click on the screen anywhere else. There'll be another link to another video in this series. Thanks for watching.